Brace yourself this winter because experts say homeowners can expect double-digit increases in their heating bills. This is why I use the new mini space heater in my home and absolutely love how quickly it makes my home toasty warm without raising my heating bills. It's compact but strong enough to warm up my bedroom, living room, office, or anywhere else I need nearly instant warmth. Plus, it includes built-in overheat protection and adjustable heat levels from gentle warmth to toasty comfort. Do yourself a favor and grab one up to 60% off this holiday season only at www.staywarmnow.com. Plus, order today and you'll receive free expedited shipping, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and several other free bonuses. Once again, that's www.staywarmnow.com. Give the gift of warmth this holiday season.
So you wanted to talk about Act Blue, but I think, but before we get into that, before we get into the meat of that, we kind of have to hit some of the highlights of what's going on, and that is, I guess, the son's pardon and the backlash from all sides about that. Everybody is coming after him for that. Uh,
Yeah.
Fetterman made a comment that he should pardon President Trump because that was a political uh, thing also. But I have noticed I've noticed recently a lot of the corporations such as Walmart and other big corporations are suddenly undoing or getting away with their DEI departments. They're just disbanding them, getting rid of them, throwing this out, not doing this anymore.
Well, good.
It's kind of funny to watch the reaction to the elections throughout the whole world. I mean, and Mayor Eric Adams is now saying that he wants to cooperate with President Trump on taking care of these illegals in New York, etc. I mean, it
Yeah.
has been very interesting. As you well know, we talked about this last time, but there are a few little minor things going on, and that is Gascon was booted out, right? And
Right.
mayor of Oakland has been arrested, I understand, and is obviously no longer mayor. Just this morning, a council member from Boston was arrested and obviously no longer a council member, I guess.
Yeah.
There are a lot of little things that are beginning to happen. Um,
Well, Trump's already in office. I mean, he's already calling the big shots.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Nobody's paying attention to Biden or what the Biden team wants at this point, other than the Medellin cartel guy who suddenly miraculously got out of prison 5 years early.
There's that.
He converted to something, and praise the Lord on that one. But I'm sure his checking account was diminished, but he probably could rapidly replace that rather quickly.
Yeah.
Even Chuck Todd has referred to Biden as the most selfish, self-centered person on the face of the earth for even running for president.
Right.
I mean, so there's that. Now, what
I,
happen with it if their future pardons, like I don't know, his entire family? Going back what, 10 years? He went back for Hunter?
yeah. Well, let's see if he actually pardons Donald Trump.
I don't want him to.
Yeah, Trump wouldn't
No,
Yeah.
accept it.
no, I would not.
Yeah.
That is not would not be a good thing.
But yeah, it would not be good. It just wouldn't. But all this pardoning going on right now is highly suspect for sure. And I'm certain that he'll do his brother soon. But I think that'll come days before the swearing in, so that way there's not much talk about it.
Well, he's got two brothers and a sister,
Right.
sister-in-law as well, I think. They're all
Yeah.
well, you know, and segueing into the Act Blue thing, there have been a large number of African American pastors, they say, who represent 28 million people, who are calling for Al Sharpton to be ousted from MSNBC because he received, or his organization received, a donation of $5 million from, gosh, I've already forgotten her name. Kamala.
There you
From
go.
Kamala Harris campaign. And they said, that's obviously really bad. Obviously, she paid him that much to say nice things about her. And so they're like, this is worse than a conflict of interest type of thing. So they want him ousted, and they're calling
Right.
that.
And where did
So,
all that money come from?
well, there you go. Now I've given you your opening to talk about Act Blue, which sounds like a mouthwash to me, but or toothpaste.
Yeah, you know, uh, it's pretty impressive what Act Blue has been doing, or what appears to be doing, and is allegedly doing. Um, how they were able to utilize money to sparse it out through all these millions of people over the years using small donations. That takes a level of expertise and technical advisement to create a system that utilizes their online platform for these donations. So they would have to bypass these bots, if you will, that take all this information and utilize it in such a way that it is just coming through, that it's just coming through. What I typically look for are patterns of amounts of traffic that go through. Did 100,000 transactions per 5 seconds happen in any given days, or was it completely uniform through a 24-hour period? And so the entities handling these have the technical processing systems in place that allow that to happen. So who are they partnered with through Visa and MasterCard specifically? Because those are your top two conduits of credit and also debit, mostly debit. How would they obtain those, and who do they obtain them through, and so forth? That takes an army of people to ensure that they're sitting at a desk every day monitoring these transactions. So when certain red flags come up, they can hit them and they could put them to rest quickly so that way they don't get audited. Uh, Typically, when you're taking in this kind of money, there's reports that you have to send in to FinCEN every month, and especially on certain amounts that come in. You have to do it. Just like if you and I went to the bank and we deposited $10,000, we got to fill out a form. The bank fills out a form. Let's FinCEN, let's the IRS know what you did, where that money came from, how it got there, to make sure it's not illegal. Clever people say, well, I'm going to just deposit $9,950. Well, they got another form now that, so you're going to get reported regardless.
Right.
These people are looking to circumvent the contribution limits, and whether or not they're breaking money laundering laws and so forth. So it certainly adds in fuel to the fire, so to speak, that any financial investigator would look into and take an in-depth look on it. And you just keep peeling the layers back and you follow the money.
Well, isn't it recently that I believe he was the Prime Minister of Poland, do I have that right? Who talked about the loop of the Ukraine money? Didn't he tie Act Blue into that? That conversation he had where he said the money was going to Ukraine and then it came back. It came back through Act Blue, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there. Well, I also saw the Herman Cain's campaign manager was one of the people that they said made, quote, 385 donations to Act Blue, which he did not make any. So they're assigning money to these. I want to understand this. They're assigning money to these individual people who know nothing about it. But then the other side of that is if it shows that he gave a $500 contribution, which he did not give, then that money came from somewhere. So the problem is, you're saying, is the difficulty is following and finding where that money came from or where it originated. Am I right in saying that?
Yes,
Money
because
didn't actually come out of his account, but it showed up as his contribution to.
right. So what it comes down to is a method that they use, which there's several methods that they can use, and specifically on what you just mentioned, we call that synthetic identity fraud. So that's where people committing the fraud combine real and fake data, and they have a real name, but with a fake credit or debit card that can be used. So they create a profile that passes verification checks. And so they get all this uh, public data from people, voting list, people who vote or registered to vote and might not vote, doesn't matter. So they create these burner cards, which are credit and debit cards, and they get paid off or they get paid into, and they're loaded with all these funds from unknown sources. So that's where you would go to find where these sources are. And these sources are making the donations on their behalf, unbeknownst to them. Just like I explained previously a while back in one of our other videos, that you have a single widowed lady, late 70s, early 80s, living in an apartment with a cat and is living on Social Security, but is donating $40,000 a year in small donations. How is that even possible? So uh, they're definitely using their payment systems and their gateways to exploit the weaknesses of the payment systems, and where the fraud detection doesn't pick it up. Or if it does pick it up, it's a low level red flag that, as long as the company or the processor handles it and handles it quickly and so forth, it just gets wiped out off the radar. So these layering of funds through the various different intermediaries uh, will allow us to go and look into the original source of the money. And once you start labeling a bank, whoever, what kind of bank that is, and I'm not saying the big banks that we all know, uh, could be, don't know, but it could be a bank, just like Sam Brinkman Fried, when he had a bank and he was using that as his piggy bank to do high level donations, $10 million to Joe Biden and so forth. But what this does is it's funding a lifestyle of these politicians too, because what I noticed is when a person reached a limit on a specific candidate, they stop it and the donations keep going. But now it goes to another candidate in Massachusetts, in Florida, in New York, California, Texas, Idaho. It just keeps going. So what I've seen is these these accounts that these politicians must register, their amount that they have in their war chests is significant. And even if they're not running for reelection, it's going into their accounts. So that's a favor. So that tells me that there's a hierarchy of how people got on board, and other low-level Democrats that come in first term, second term. Hey, as long as I voice and do my thing like AOC and all these millions of followers on X and so forth, they get in on it, and oh, they should be rewarded. But it's just very interesting to see where that money's going.
There was recently a big donor, Democrat, who was such a big donor. She's part of the DNC, working. And she was saying, how did these people in the DNC suddenly, all of them, become millionaires? You
Right.
know, all of these people becoming millionaires. And of course, now it's her money. So she's got a stake in the game. So she's going after this, which they wouldn't have done if Hillary, I keep saying Hillary, if Kamala had won. But so it's all just a big mess. And the other thing that I see going on that's coming out, Matt Gaetz has promised to bring out, and one of the reasons I think he left the House is this insider trading situation that they have going on, which the most famous person in that is Nancy Pelosi. But that he says that's where a lot of these members of Congress are making so much money in the insider trading thing. And I found it, I don't know, maybe it's coincidental, but all of a sudden, this CEO of United Healthcare, who had been being investigated for insider trading, turns up murdered. Do you know anything about that? Is that just a coincidence, or is that connected to anything that's going on politically?
This had to be a coordinated effort and not an individual effort. And now we know the face of the person because he was in another area of town and he's smiling. And
They have a fingerprint.
yeah, so, and I've even told Bill this quite a while back. I said, don't underestimate the NYPD. Those guys know what they're doing. Their intelligence section, to me, is much better than the FBI. They have resources and technology that is extremely superior, and they know how to do it. When they say, "Oh, just give us a little time, we're going to find out," and sure enough, they are, and they're going to get close. Either this guy has to be dead already, or he's out of the country already. He would have to leave the country. So with his face. He didn't have much time to leave the country. He would have had to get out that day or by the next day for sure on a plane somewhere. But
Think
this had to be a coordinated effort.
Would the face recognition software be good? Is it good enough to have identified him? Do
Yes, in airports, when you go there, they do have facial recognition, and they are TSA is has already implemented a facial recognition. So when you go check in for your flight, you give your real ID and they do it, but it's an optional thing. And people have to realize that the sign says optional, even though I have a beef with TSA agents. Okay, sir, please stand in front of the thing here. And nope,
yeah.
no, sir, you have to do it. No, I don't. This sign says optional. You're not taking my face. Oh, okay. And so you got my ID in hand, just swipe it. So the facial recognition in certain areas in New York City are prevalent. Even Walmart has facial recognition. When you go in the stores, you see a little square all of a sudden on your face, or you go to the checkout, it's got you right there. A lot of stores are doing that. So your facial recognition at some point has been captured already for the most part. And when you're in a place like New York City, God help you, you're going to be picked up for sure. You know, you are picked up, and they have access to a lot of the CCTVs, the cameras that are everywhere, and certainly law enforcement has that access to as well. And they can pretty much track back and keep going back and back and back and back and back and figure out a path and put an entire history of your whereabouts and so forth. And from there, they can go your communications because he was seen on a cell phone. He was seen like he was talking with somebody prior to that too as well.
Or something. He went to a
Yeah,
store, I think. I'm not,
right.
yeah. So, and that, who knows where they got his fingerprint, but they said they got a fingerprint. So
Possibly DNA.
possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
And I found it kind of interesting that the bullets were engraved or whatever the
Yeah, I've
proper
never
word.
heard of that.
Yeah.
yeah. That's To me, my first thought about that was they're trying to throw somebody off and trying to make it look like it was some phenomenal group or wacko or something that went and did it in order to toss off the scent of a organized hit job. So I'm not buying that at this point. At least for me, I don't buy that. Yeah, so you found a bullet that had the three Ds on it, big deal. Uh, Toss it in the evidence locker and write it down on the thing. But um, the ways and the capability of them finding that out, if it was ever used on social media or some kind of site somewhere, who knows? But
There's
I don't buy it.
it's the title of a book. But one of the D's is wrong, but it's the title of a book that was written about insurance health insurance companies and how they get out of paying claims, which is delay, deny, and I don't remember what the other D is, and he used a different word. It's delay, deny, and something, and he used delay, deny, and depose or
Yeah,
dispose.
right.
Yeah,
Depose.
yeah.
Right.
And so I guess, like you said, they wanted it to look like it was connected to somebody who had but the guy was under investigation by the DOJ, and my guess is it would have something more to do with that than somebody who didn't get their health claim, processed.
They
Uh,
couldn't pay their premium for the month. They had operation the following month.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I used to work in the claims department, and people would yell at you, but I don't remember anybody ever threatening to to kill anybody for.
right. I view this personally as a collaborated effort to take out this CEO, which is unfortunate. It's terrible, even though if he was under investigation. But what CEO across America on super billion dollar corporations isn't investigated? And people have to understand the term investigated. Either you're being investigated for a crime or you're being looked into to make sure your records and everything are straight and so forth, because they could have a red flag could have gone up or something or something could have changed the legislation or rules that they took a little bit longer to implement or so forth. I just focused on how this hit was done and how the guy came with that was a custom made suppressor that wasn't good because the proper ones that know how to reduce the decibels and use the subsonic ammunition will be able to at least toss out the expend cartridges and load in another one. This one was the one that captured most of the gas with the lower decibel in order for it to be effective but less sound. So he had a racket every time. And so it goes pop, it doesn't go back. He had a racket and put in a new one and shoot again. Racket, put a new one, shoot again. They said that he racked it and I guess it could have jammed it and he shook it out again and did another one. These bullets fell, or he could have just tossed the bullets down there. Interestingly, they don't have any prints on them, but uh, who knows? But for sure, he had to rack it in order to use it again. And regular suppressors that people use, you'll still hear the bang, but it's more of a clap, pop, click. But the gas doesn't fully go out enough to force it to go back. That's the reason why he had to do it single by the hand each time. At that early in the morning, there was only one other bystander that was there, and that person kind of tried to duck and cover as best he can. God, I hope he doesn't shoot me. And he was able to finish the job and just walk away.
Well, the CEO's wife said that he had been threatened. She didn't know why or who, whatever. And he kind of wondered maybe if he had taken the threat seriously, he would have had security, or he would have been wearing a bulletproof vest or something.
We had to walk one long block away to get to the hotel from his hotel. At that early in the morning, I have my reservations. So maybe he wanted to go for that morning walk to kind of wake up and so forth. A lot of us do that. But in his type of situation, if you've had life threats on your body, there's plenty of security companies in New York City that have a lot of operators on there that can take care of you, get you from point A to B and back to point A again safely. So that would have been advisable at least to have one, because that one at that early in the morning, he would have focused on that guy with the mask and everything. It's a given. So it's tragic that he didn't take that seriously on his life, and it cost him his life, unfortunately.
The other thing that we have, I think, going on, at least today, is the Daniel Penny trial, which right now is a hung jury.
Right.
The judge told them go back and try to come to some agreement. And that to me is a tragedy. You know,
Yeah, it really is because in the heat of the moment, when you're trying to subdue somebody who is really trying to hurt other people, they have exceptional strength. And that's what he knows how to do. And that's what he did. And his training had kicked in from what he was taught. And he just took care of it. And sometimes you don't know your own strength until the guy goes, ugh. I certainly hope that those that are on the jury would unanimously just give in and just say, hey, look, not only was it self-defense for him, but he saved a lot of other people's lives. And, you know, they appreciate it.
How in the world could this have brought charges? I mean, that's just only in New York City.
This will send a message to everybody else that the bad guys can go out there and do something and you can't touch them. People will be afraid to get involved and be the Good Samaritan and save people's lives and refuse to even get involved at this point. And where do we stand there on humanity at that point? Being able to help our fellow man that's in need, especially if you see a police officer getting the crap kicked out of him or her, and civilians go, I don't want to get involved, man, you know, and
right.
they're not gonna step up because in fear in New York City, you're gonna be the one indicted, arrested, and tried and possibly sent away to Rikers Island for quite a long time.
Well, yesterday at this time, the jury had requested something, and it looked like he was going to get a conviction. But now today, it's a hung jury. What does that mean? What do you take from that?
Well, a hung jury means you don't have enough votes to convict them, or it's evenly split. And so they need to go back, and unless, of course, you were in Judge Merchan's court and you can just say, I just need four of you on these things, right?
But I mean, it would be determined to be a mistrial. And my hope is that if that happens, the judge will just say, dismissed.
Yeah, unless the prosecutor wants to refile the charges again.
Well, it just
Yeah.
destroys the concept of the Good Samaritan, which, is really the basis of a lot of the goodness of America, that there are Good Samaritans who will step in.
I believe that most Americans are good Samaritans, whether they believe it in themselves or not, because when you're at the heat of the moment, that's when it kicks in. The goodness of people kicks in, saying, "Hey, I got to do something about it, and I got to help this guy out. I got to help these people out, and so forth." And it's just a natural instinct of human behavior, the kindness of people that want to go out there and do good. They would rather see good uh, triumph over evil any day. That's just the natural human element in all of us, and how we all have that empathy enough to stand up and just say, hey, there's 10 of us here against these two guys, and this one guy is threatening everybody else, and it's hands on now, and boom, they go get it. So it was a concerted effort, but that uh, Daniel guy, he was there, he was close by, and he stood up, and he didn't attack, he responded. There's a difference.
Right.
And I hate it when they say, well, he attacked this guy and got him in a, no, he responded. There's a difference. Okay. There's a difference. Somebody pulls the gun out and is taking shots at you, but it's a bad shot. But it's enough for you to take your gun out and take that one shot because you're trained and you're steady and so forth. But you didn't attack him. You responded. It was self-defense. Well, he wasn't attacking you. Well, I had no choice because I could have been next. She could have been next. This grandmother could have been next. This uncle could have been next. Anybody could have been next. And he was threatening everybody else. So it's that natural human element of wanting to get in the fight and put an end to it as quick as possible and subdue the person.
That's how I feel about spiders and snakes.
There you go. I know I had no problem smashing spiders, just like Garfield does every year when they put the new cartoons out. He goes smack on a spider, and snakes, I'll just cut the head off.
I
Yep,
don't
that's
care.
why I carry a hoe when I'm working out in the deep brush. A
Yeah,
hoe is your best weapon against a snake.
Yeah,
that's right.
right. Yeah.
All right, well, we're getting on in time here, so I think we better call this to a close. Thank you very much for your expertise. You certainly have it in these subjects that we wanted to discuss today.
Anytime.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.